a lot of true healing can come through expressing yourself, you know, talking, and sometimes I found myself, you know, going through healing and saying and talking to myself, but talking out there in public. Sometimes I might be doing stuff and suddenly things trigger me, and it's just like people who are out there, in the streets, they talk to themselves. And a lot of times that can be a healing process that's going on. Everybody's going through healing. Healing is not just you just heal straight away. You can do that. That does happen, but I feel like healing is a progress that just keeps on going on and on. You want to get to a spot where it's like you want to prevent the worst of the worst happening. So you want the healing to actually happen. But a lot of times I have been out there in public and suddenly I stay stuff and have been, police have come and put me down in the ground and all that stuff. That's what you're trying to stop. That is what you don't want. But a lot of times, I do find myself where it's just I say stuff and it just comes out. You can call it divine expression, or sometimes it just comes out, and that is because the healing needs to come out sometimes, and sometimes it needs to come out through public or maybe in the house. You do want to do it in the house, but a lot of times, for me, it feels like the healing progress. Um, sometimes it just comes out in the outside world. In the outside world is I find that it's that the healing progress happens faster, but you do want to prevent anything from getting worse and worse. If it does happen outside, you know, a lot of people have done that in the outside world and caused a lot of chaos, and there's been a lot of people have lost their lives because of that. That is the worst of worst, what you don't want. But I do feel that I felt when I was speaking and when I was going through my mental health and stuff and all that stuff in public, I actually felt a healing progress, and I felt like I was actually transforming the outside world to get better. So yeah, so healing can always be a progress. So healing's always a progress. It's always a progress that's constantly happening all the time. So you can do it in meditations. A lot of people do it in meditations. Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations is that happens. But I feel that a lot of my healing, the best healing that I get a lot, is when I'm out there in public and out there in the outside world, and it just constantly comes out, and I feel a kind of evolution. Busy Bones said, you want to take it higher, but then you want to come back to the norm. You want to be normal again. You know what I mean? Come back normal again and go back to the simple life. But a lot of times that it just happens, and the healing progress is a progress. It's not always a destination.